Imagine waking up on a dark, mysterious train. You don't know why you're there. You don't know where it's headed. You can't even remember who you really are. Sounds bad? That's just the beginning. You quickly discovered the train is haunted by restless spirits. And the only way to reclaim your identity is to help them restore their humanity while fighting not to lose yourself. My name is Marcin and welcome in another episode of Dice on Board. Today we're stepping into the dark world of Vagrantsong. Vagrantsong from Wyrd Games is a cooperative boss battler game. But it's not as complex as Kingdom Death Monster, Aeon Trespass, or even Oldsworth Into the Deepwood and Primal the Awakening. It's a lighter experience, more like Townfolk's Tussle, but the story here does all the heavy lifting. Packed in a hefty scenario book, every choice will take you to the next mysterious compartment of the haunted train. Around 20 in total. The train is known as the Silver Ferryman. Here, what you need to realize quickly, despite its playful, almost adorable visuals, reminiscent of classic Disney cartoons or the hit game Cuphead, and its rubber hose style, Vagrantsong tells a serious story. A story about loss, grief, and the struggle to find one's place in the world. Each chapter of this often bitter tale takes us to a new section of this mysterious train. But that's not all. Above all, we meet new, lost, and tormented soul, known here as a Haint. At the start of the campaign, players choose one of the available characters. Each has slightly different stats and special abilities, but the differences aren't huge and don't create any major asymmetry. To answer your question right away, yes, as we go on an adventure, each character unlocks new abilities. These deepen their personalities, but still, they're not a huge changes. At the same time, we gain plenty of universal talents that can be assigned to anyone on the team. This, of course, gives flexibility and lets you experiment with some different combinations. After reading the atmospheric introduction,
you're just one from a handful of train hoppers trying to find shelter from the storm. You don't recognize any familiar faces, and come to think of it, you don't even remember seeing them hop on the train with you. But every one of them swears up and down that they just got here.
Players learn the setup of the location and the profile of the current Haint. We discover the rules and how they behave, what drives them, and most importantly, what we must do, uncover, or endure to restore their lost humanity. And I need to say this right now. Everything I'm about to tell you is in some way a spoiler, but at the same time, I have to reveal something. So, don't worry, I'll tread carefully, because the tormented souls we meet along the way are widely different from one another. Some bosses will literally try to tear the train car apart, ripping holes through the wagon walls. They'll attack us through them, they'll drag us across the map. But those same openings might also become opportunities, offering fast, risky movement, if we're brave enough to use them. Others prey on something far more human: greed. The more treasures and strange trinkets we collect, the more exposed our souls became to danger. Our hunger for loot can quite literally make us vulnerable. And then there are the darker entities, creatures that lurk in and strike in from the shadows, pulling us into a world of nightmares. In those encounters, survival depends on light, candles, lanterns, anything that push back the darkness, even just a little. The Haints act through something called rummage tokens. Between the turns of our Vagrants, each player draws a random token from the bindle. That single draw determines what the Haint does next. An ability, an attack, a shift in behavior, and here is the brilliant part. Every Haint has its own unique set of actions. So each encounter feels different. Each boss comes with distinct victory conditions, a different rhythm, a different emotional tone. And one more thing, every enemy has two sides, a calmer, more restrained personality and far more aggressive one. These sides shift and intervene depending on the player's actions. Push too hard and you might awaken something far worse. Hold back and you might never reach the truth. But that brings us to the real question. What does the actual gameplay looks like and how does a player's turn unfold? Once you choose the Vagrant that catches your eye, a few key elements immediately stands out. First, your humanity. This is your life, your anchor, the fragile thread keeping you from fading away. Right at the center of the character board, you'll find your unique special ability. In a way, it defines who you are. On the left and right sides, there are 4 ability slots. This is where you build your character over time, equipping new skills, shaping your playstyle, slowly reclaiming fragments of identity. And then we have the core of your turn. 5 basic actions. These are activated using coins, and by default you have 3. That means in your turn you can perform up to 3 activations. Each one is marked by placing a coin on the chosen action or ability. Simple and clean. So what can you actually do? You can move, you can rummage through the bindle, hoping to find something valuable or something essential to defeating the Haint. You have a basic attack. You can investigate, triggering story events, or in critical moments, you can try to heal, desperately holding on to what little humanity you have left. It's straightforward on the surface, but as you'll soon see, nothing on the Silver Ferryman stays simple for long. Uncovering what truly torments the Haints pursuing us isn't just about exploration, and it's not only about triggering the next story events. There is something more. Along the way, we also perform rituals, small, thematic side objectives that function like narrative mini-quests. And just like everything else in Vagrantsong, they are always tied directly to the specific boss we're facing. They are not random tasks. They are deeply personal. For example, we may need to search nearby chests to find old photographs that once belongs to the very soul haunting us. Fragments of forgotten past, memories long buried. By recovering those mementos and confronting the Haint with echoes of happier times, we can shift its personality, turning it from aggressive to calmer. And in that softened state, restoring its humanity becomes far more effective. So again, we're not just fighting bosses, we are confronting their trauma, piece by piece, memory by memory. These recovered memories don't just affect the Haint, they affect us. Just like the narrative choices we make in the camp phase between scenarios, where we learn new abilities, recover our humanity, and reflect on what we've witnessed. Everything is carefully recorded in a special journal. Every decision, every fragment of memory restored. And this journal isn't just flavor text, it shapes the campaign. It can influence the order of upcoming scenarios. It determines which special ability became available. It quietly adjusts the direction of the story. And ultimately, it may even shape the ending of our journey. Because, without revealing too much, Vagrantsong doesn't have just one conclusion. The fate of the Silver Ferryman and of your lost soul can unfold in several different ways. And trust me, not all of them are merciful. So, what do I really think about Vagrantsong? First of all, it's absolutely gorgeous. The production quality is top tier. The cards are thick and well made. And those acrylic standees, simply magical. They look like they've stepped straight out of an old animated film reel. The story of the game is just as engaging. It tells a surprisingly mature and original story, about loss, redemption, and ultimately finding your path, set during the Great Depression of the late 1920s and 1930s. That setting alone gives the story weight. Older players will definitely notice the deeper symbolism, the metaphor of economic despair, wandering souls, forgotten people trying to reclaim dignity. Personally, I respect that ambition immensely. Alongside the stunning visual presentation, this story is without question the game's the greatest strength. The bosses, they're often creative and demanding encounters. Each one introduces a new mechanic, a new objective, a new tactical puzzle you must solve to defeat the next Haint. Sometimes, when the number of abilities and interactions piles up, it can be difficult to track everything. But when every player stays engaged and mindful, the encounter becomes a satisfying cooperative puzzle. And that's where we move into a more complicated part. Mechanically, it's weaker. At its core, Vagrantsong is a simple and somewhat repetitive game. And despite being cooperative, it doesn't truly lean into cooperation very deeply. You won't find many meaningful skills synergize between characters. Very few moments where abilities truly complement one another. More often than not, everyone plays their own little game, just aiming toward the same shared objective. Character progression also lacks impact. There are simply too many abilities and items that feel similar or not exciting. After about 10 hours into the campaign, that system starts to feel repetitive, even though. And then there are the dice. Dice are used for almost every test in the game, and unfortunately, that has a major impact on how it feels to play, because, literally, any action can fail. Roll low, and you might accomplish absolutely nothing during your turn. No meaningful way to mitigate it. No clever tactical workaround. And yeah, that's pretty lame. Because a game that presents itself as tactical, yet relies so heavily on randomness for core actions, can quickly shift from tense to frustrating. You and your team can carefully analyze the situation, plan the perfect approach, use every ounce of brainpower to solve the encounter. And the dice simply say, nope. The silver lining? Even if you lose a scenario, you don't have to replay it. You continue the journey aboard the Silver Ferryman, just with fewer rewards. That design decision saves the campaign from becoming punishing. So, in the end, Vagrantsong earns a 7 out of 10 from me. It's beautiful, it tells a compelling story. Its bosses are varied, imaginative, and often genuinely challenging. For a good dozen plus hours, it gives me and my group a very enjoyable experience. But the overly random test system, the limited mechanical depth, and the somewhat shallow character progression, especially in such a long campaign, eventually made the gameplay feel repetitive. In the end, what kept us going was the desire to see how the story would conclude. So, who is this game for? I'd say it's perfect for players just beginning the journey with boss battlers, for those who care more about atmosphere, about story, and if you're willing to let the dice shape your destiny, this journey might be for you. Oh yeah, if you like my work, hit the subscribe button, leave a like, or drop a comment. It really helps the channel grow. See you next time.